Hey everybody, Matt here for Imagine Then Make. Thanks for stopping by. In a recent video, I drew this using LibreCAD. For today's video, I thought it'd be fun to try and make one of these out of wood. So I decided to use some reclaimed particle board for this project. This piece right here is about 5/8 of an inch thick. So what I plan to do here is glue down a copy of my template and then use the scroll saw to cut out all the individual pieces. For the backer board for this project, I'm going to stick with reclaimed particle board. I'm going to use some Super 77 spray adhesive. The idea here is to spray it on the paper and then give it a few quick seconds to kind of set up. Line up those little pencil marks I had before and feel relatively confident that when I'm cutting, I'm not going to run into any of the holes that's in the particle board. So this is the scroll saw blade I decided to use for this project. It's a standard 5-inch long plane and scroll saw blade. In fact, it's already clamped into my lower blade clamp right there, and it's just sitting on my scroll saw table. You can see the table peeking out right there, sitting on top of a piece of paper and held down with just a simple round magnet so it doesn't move around and gives you a chance to see the blade in detail. This is referred to as a universal 12R blade, R meaning reverse. So as you might be able to see, all of these teeth in the upper section of the blade are all pointed down, which is normal. And these teeth down here in the lower section of the blade are all pointed in the reverse direction or in the upward direction. The reason this is useful is that these reverse teeth tend to greatly reduce the amount of tear out on the back side of your scroll saw cuts, which is something I was interested in. So I think I'm done sanding. This is the 3/4 of an inch thick piece of particle board, and I'm actually very impressed and very encouraged. This seems like a reasonable way to make a very round circle using a scroll saw and then some kind of a sanding block like this. So I've got the rest of the paper peeled off. In fact, it's a little pile right there. And you can see the 4 pieces that I used the mineral spirits on. Shows you how absorbent or porous particle board is. Not really quite sure if these pieces are going to dry and then turn to the same light color as these or not, so I'm going to have to wait and see. If you watched my video where I was designing this in LibreCAD, if you had the patience to sit through it, you saw that I like to use LibreCAD to experiment with some different ideas, and I use LibreCAD as a computerized pencil and a piece of paper. So I was just taking a minute and playing with these pieces as I reoriented them, and it gave me a couple of ideas for some other designs. So I'm going to turn the camera, and off camera I'm going to move the pieces around and then come back and show you what I came up with. So after removing those 2 wedge pieces, those triangles there, and one of the outer pieces, and then moving the remaining pieces around a little bit, applying some different kinds of spacing, this is what I came up with. And what I think is interesting is I probably wouldn't have thought to do this while sitting in front of the computer. But once I had all these blocks cut, it occurred to me almost instantly to kind of rearrange them a little bit to come up with a slightly different design. So now here's the big question. Do I glue all these pieces according to this original design and follow through and see how that looks? Or do I go with this design? I think I'll have to mold that one over for a bit. And this is kind of what it will look like. Okay. This little spot right here is where the price tag for the MDF was on the panel. So this will be the good side, and this will be the side that it doesn't get seen. So this is a little sticky here. I think I will get some mineral spirits and try and clean this up a little bit, and then maybe sand the edges a little bit, and then put some sanding sealer on this piece. All the pieces are sanded using 220 grit. Now it's time to glue all the points together. So I've been thinking about how I am going to assemble the 8-point star. And what I decided to do was take another copy of the template. I'm going to cut it out along the outer circle using a pair of scissors. And then I'm also going to take a piece of carbon paper, and I'll put the carbon paper over the backer board, and then the cutout template on top of that, and probably use some tape to secure it to the backer board, and then use a pen and either freehand or maybe using a ruler, a straight edge, go over these straight lines. And what that will do is draw black lines onto the backer board. And then as I add glue, and I think I'm going to try this Elmer's white glue. I've read online that it sets slower than the Tight Bond glue that I'm usually familiar with. This definitely sets up too fast, so I don't want to use this. I'm going to try this and hope that once I get all the pieces on here, I'll still have an opportunity to make some minor adjustments to the position before the glue sets up. So that's the plan. Let's see if it works out. So let's see how well this is going to work. I just do a dry fit here. Like so. So I think that's going to work out just fine, as long as the glue doesn't set up too quick. I think my next step now is to take a Forstner bit. I think I'll use a 3/4 of an inch Forstner bit and drill a hole right in the middle of this, and then cut a circular piece of particle board using the scroll saw, sand it so that it fits right in to the middle here. That should clean up this center section, which I just don't like the way it looks. 3/4 of an inch Forstner bit, drill press set up to 1700 RPM. So rather than using a compass to mark out the 3/4 of an inch diameter plug I need to make for the center of the 8-pointed star, I found a flat washer which just happens to measure 3/4 of an inch in diameter. So I can use this flat washer to mark out the plug I need to cut. So now I want to cut off this overhang here. I think I'll use the scroll saw to do that, and then I'll use the sanding block to make it as round as I can make it.